Hi, this is Paula, and this is whoever holds the stone. And I don't care. I'm going to call it that no matter what. And I'm here with Richard, and of course, my son Tom on drums. And I wanted to start something here because I almost flipped it. I had to check it. I had to make sure that this was correct information. So I was I was reading something, and in the reading, it talked about what the life expectancy was, or maybe it was something I was watching on YouTube at, at the beginning of the 20th century. Can you guess what the life expectancy was?
Was it in the 50s?
45 to 49.
Ooh.
That includes men and women. And they did say that.
This is the year 1900?
Yes, they said the reason for that, it was there was such a high infant mortality rate.
Yeah.
So they said if you did make it past childhood, there was a good chance you could make it to 60. I am so grateful to be living now
Yeah.
when there's a chance that I might make it to 80 something.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the idea, I know in Stone Age times, the life expectancy was like in the 30s
Yeah.
because they lived a very harsh existence.
Yeah.
And I remember a kid in my class, and at the time I was in my 40s, and he used to sit next to me in this class, and, we had, our professor was talking about the life expectancy being 30 years old. And the kid's jabbing me in the ribs saying, I'd start building your coffin now. And I was in my 40s, and I looked at him and I said, you know what? I'd be way underground by now. So it was, but in 1900, my father died at 40, what was it, 48?
Yeah.
48 years old. And that was so young to me for him to be gone. Of course, he was older when I was born. But I did not. So that was in the 60s. And your dad was in his 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have just made it to 70 when he died.
Oh, okay. But honestly, that just completely blew my mind. It just blew me away. And I guess the other thing that I wanted to talk about was this book that I'm listening to on Libby, which is The Correspondent, and you said her name was Evelyn something. The writer. Let me hang on. Let me. I've got it right here.
Virginia Evans.
Virginia. Okay. Virginia Evans, and she put together this marvelous little. Oh, I shouldn't say little book. It's a 9-hour listen, but it's all letters that she wrote, and letters that were written to her. And it's so beautifully written, and it's so emotionally charged, and you're cheering for these people. I've got certain goals that I want to happen before the end of this book. I want her Syrian friend to get a job as an engineer because he has an engineering degree, and she's trying to help him. He sent her the resume. I want her to have a relationship with her daughter, which she has no relationship with her daughter. And I want her to realize that the guy next door, her friend who came from Germany during the war, he was Jewish, and he just told her the story about how his father and brother had been killed in the concentration camps. I want her to maintain a friendship with him and get rid of the guy that's the Texan that's been trying to go take her to dinner and stuff. So I want all these things for her. I don't know. She's not even a real person. I get so invested in the characters in novels that I live with them alongside of them. I don't know why why I take it like this, why I'm so serious about it. But I find myself getting so involved with their lives that when the book is over, I miss them. And I don't even miss people in my real life. I think it's some kind of transference, for people like me who have a hard time bonding. when you're reading a book, it's safe. It's a safe place. They're not real people. And you can bond with them because there's no repercussions. It's like looking at snow from inside of a house out the window and not having to walk into it. So I get very involved. So anyway, I love anybody out there who wants to look on Libby for this book. It's beautifully written, and it makes you really want the characters' lives to work out well, even though in literature that doesn't always happen. Anyway, that's my thing I'm reading. I'm still reading the Bible.
Wait, I just wanted to mention something about
Okay.
that. That's what you call a word of mouth hit.
Uh-huh.
In other words, the critics were like lukewarm about it, but the book clubs started telling each other, "This is really great. You got to check this out. You got to check this out."
Is that what happened with this
And
book?
then before you know it, it had this massive following.
I don't know what. Honestly, I've read. You know how I am. I'm really hoity-toity about what I read. I like the classics. I'm always trying to read things that are brilliant, have brilliant writing, and really juicy characters. And for me to find a modern novel this engaging, this is a good book. I mean, I must say I'm very fussy about fiction. So if I like it, if I'm this engaged and I think the writing is this good, screw those critics. They were,
I
you
feel
know what?
the same way.
They were. It's the emperor's new clothes syndrome. Oh, this is not up to my standards. It doesn't use enough big words, or it's not talking about, it's something politically charged. But there's a little bit of politics in it because it takes place during the time when Trump becomes president, and she does mention him a few times.
Now, that has happened in two other areas. One is in the world of movies. This movie came out called Marty Supreme, and critics were like, it's average, nothing special. But the people who saw it went home and told all their friends, you got to go see this movie. And it's a massive
Wow.
viewer thing now.
Yeah, and sometimes with those movies, those big box office things, they're kind of just action movies, trashy or whatever. But sometimes the critics miss something. It's like when the critics were, some critics didn't like the Beatles. They obviously missed something. They were not hitting the zeitgeist. But yeah, I do trust my judgment when it comes to books, and this book is excellent. I've got some guilty pleasures, like I read The Thornbirds, and as much as I didn't want to like it, I liked it. I was like, oh God, I can't. Somebody gave it to me, and I felt, at the time I was young, I felt like I was obligated to read it so I could give them some feedback on it.
Sure.
And I did read it, and I did like it, but I was so embarrassed of myself. But this is different. This is a good book. And she mentions a lot of books in here. One of her friends, she and her friend always end their letters with, "I'm reading this right now. What are you reading?" So there's a lot of books in there that are interest me, and the subject matter. So I've been writing some of them down.
Do you know about Ezra Klein?
No.
He works for the New York Times, and the Times let him have his own podcast. It's become massively popular. And he ends every single interview. The thing about him is, if he interviews an author, he reads that book.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
He doesn't say, well, that's what the title says, so what does you mean by that title?
Yeah.
And you could tell some interviewers are like fishing for more information. They haven't read the book. You can tell, right? So, but he does. And authors really appreciate that about him.
Yeah.
So they want to come on his show. He ends every show the same way. As usual, I like to know, what are 3 books you recommend to the audience?
Oh, that's
And they always
awesome.
talk so passionately about what they're reading and what they recommend.
Yeah, I think readers are passionate about reading. I think that it's I don't know. I mean, I started reading so late. and I was in my 20s when I started reading seriously.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things. In fact, I was reading a lot of the young adult books. I read Narnia, and I read like Alice in Wonderland and all these other things that I missed as a kid.
Mm.
And some of them are excellent. I wasn't nuts about, and I didn't, the wardrobe, the Lion, the Wardrobe, and the something or other.
Yeah.
I really was disappointed in that.
Mm.
But
It's supposed to have like a lot of Christian symbolism.
yeah, it's not, that wasn't what turned me off. It just wasn't, the language wasn't to my standard. I didn't like the way it was written. I just didn't care for it. But that's okay, because at least I know what it's about now.
Now they're doing an interesting thing as far as taking a pre-established story
Mm-hmm.
and then changing the location, but it's essentially the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll give you an example, like E.T.
Mm-hmm.
It's a boy and his dog, but there's an alien,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
dog, things like that,
Yeah, yeah.
So you like,
Oh yeah, the standard
like there's these story tropes.
tropes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to think of.
So, Game of Thrones now, it's wildly popular.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and fans are begging for more and more and more. So they have a new series out now, Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm.
A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, whoever they turned, they didn't go to the original author. The
Mhm.
original author said, "I give you my blessing. You can ask this author."
Yeah.
And this author said, "Yeah, but it's time that we have to sort of change it a little bit." So I'm dying to watch this series. It'll be the next thing I watch.
Did
For-
you
for
watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's good writing.
Yeah.
So listen how the series starts. They don't have medieval music.
Mm-hmm.
They have a classic jazz trumpeter song from the 1950s as their music. And the fans are going, wait a minute, what's going
yeah.
on here? And they're making little jokes about the series in the series.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, in one episode, as the two characters are walking off at the end of the episode, one of them says, "Well, at least the seven kingdoms are safe." And the other one says, you must have lost count. There's 9 kingdoms. And then it fades to black and it says, "End of this episode of the Night of the 9 Kingdoms." So they're putting in all these little reference jokes.
Right. So actually, I think people who are really into those kinds of series love stuff like that.
Ah.
They're in jokes.
Yeah.
For the people who are really into it. So
Now, there's another thing having to do with the fans liking something and the critics dismissing it in the world of art. All right?
yeah.
Now, are you familiar with an artist named Ariel? How would you pronounce that name? Refill?
Refil. Ruffle. I don't know.
It's a Turkish name.
I'm very bad with I can't sound words out. It's a form of dyslexia.
Oh. Okay, so Rafiq.
Rafiq. Okay.
His name is Rafiq Anadol. And his forte, let's call it, is art entirely created by artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay. I'm interested in this. I am.
Now, you can sort of like anticipate that the the critics are going to poo-poo it.
Oh yeah.
This is not really art.
Well, it's debatable.
However, I say to you, that is not what the patrons are doing.
Yeah, but that just because it's not created by a human being doesn't mean it's not interesting. It makes it a little bit more interesting in some ways.
So, Mr. Windsor, if you could put F9 on the screen while we're talking.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a very long loop of this created by artificial intelligence.
Wow. They have said something like this recently at the Albright Knox, but it wasn't. I don't think it was artificial intelligence. I think it was, maybe it was, but it, like this, looks like kind of like waves from another planet.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
You're looking down from a cliff at the waves.
Yeah, but it's not Earth.
So they keep statistics at the Museum of Modern Art, and the average wait time in front of a painting is 38 minutes. And the average wait time in front of this is over half hour.
Wow.
People just sit there transfixed.
Wow. Yeah, it is. It's very. You want to anticipate what you're going to see next, but it defies anticipation.
And it's funny because when they do news programs about this sensation at the Museum of Modern Art, they always interview the people and the critics. And one critic said the following. He said, well, he said, it's not really showing you anything new. It's just showing you, he says, like there's this one part of the exhibit where they'll show like a Rembrandt, and then it starts to slowly change. And before you know
Nice
it,
effect, Tom.
before you know it, it's a Vermeer.
Oh,
And
so
the-
it morphs into another painting.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen things like that on Facebook where one face will morph into another.
Yeah.
You know, but I think this is fascinating.
And the museum said there are people who sit there for 3 hours because it transports their mind.
I think, well, it could be that it's because it's really not representational. It's like meditative. And I mean, in some cases, it almost looks like pixels. Or there's this ice cream. There's this ice cream that's little Dippin' Dots, it's called. And they're just little dots, and it's frozen in a cup. And parts of this looks like Dippin' Dots. And you know, or pixels, or like you said, waves from another planet.
And I was hoping that this video would show some of that, but it doesn't, as you can see.
Oh, you mean the morph?
I want to see the
morphing.
paintings morphing.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful in an otherworldly way.
Uh-huh. Oh, so they actually did him on Sunday morning,
Oh,
which I think you watched, don't you?
I do watch that. Was it this past week?
Let's see here. When was that?
I didn't watch it yesterday, so it must have been yesterday.
This is from 4 months ago.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't remember that far ago. That's sad, but it's true.
So, so as you can see, you know this host then. Tom, can you at F9? Okay, so yeah, so this is what it's
Oh.
massive, as you can see. You get a different perspective on it this way.
Wow, that's really amazing. It partially looks like flowers blooming. You know how they do the stop photography or whatever it's called, time lapse photography.
Yeah. Now this is the art critic of the New York Times, who's probably poo-pooing it.
The guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, CBS had to call him in.
People are so afraid just to go with their gut. They want to appear to be, you know, their knowledge. But we've talked about this with film school. Film school gets you to make films that your professors would approve of.
Yeah.
Just same thing with art school. You know, you have to break out of that in order to be a true artist.
Yeah.
And I know it's AI, but it's a tool. Just like video art. I mean, people do video art all the time, and they have distorted images and so forth.
Yeah.
they're in control of it, yes, but if you're telling AI what to do, your idea is the art. The idea is the art. Just because you're not
I agree.
painting it doesn't mean you don't have artistic ideas. So I don't see the problem. I know I'm probably
Well,
not.
I think it should be its own category when it's
Yeah.
being judged.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly, because it can do anything. So it shouldn't be judged against people who can't. But I like the idea of the morphing paintings. That is something that interests me. So anyway, this that is something I hope comes to the Albright Knox. I'd love to see that.
I'm sure it'll go on
Yeah,
tour.
I'm sure it will. So in my home reading, which is, right now I'm reading that book about creating the Jews, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
That one, they're talking about something called I want to say Kazans. It's not Kazans, but there's a bunch of people in Kiev, the area of Kiev, in the early part of, like in the 200s or something, and there's a bunch of Jewish people there, and this guy postulates that they were all converts, but there's a lot of anger in the Jewish community saying that no, Jews moved there, and there's only a few converts, because if they're all converts, then in fact they wouldn't be Jews. So there's this big thing, dichotomy between are they people who were converted, or are they actual genetic Jews? And
Genetic, wow.
I would be curious to see what the genetic makeup of these people are. It's curious, but that's not the fun thing. The fun thing is the Bible. So I'm reading about David, King David. These guys are a bunch of assholes. I swear to God. David, who's got all of, he's been proclaimed king by God himself, right? I mean, God in a box, right?
Yeah.
So God in a box says, you are the king, you are the leader, you are the person who is going to be fighting all these battles and taking over and ruling all the people. So he's got all these wives. He's got all these concubines. He's having kids like crazy. He's just living the life of Riley in the sex department, right? So there's this woman, and she's taking a bath, I guess, in a stream, and he happens to see her, and she's hot. And he looks at her and he's saying, "Hey, I'm David." And he goes and he has sex with her. I think it's consensual. I mean, he's the king. If you're approached by the king, this is Bathsheba. So Bathsheba gets pregnant by him. So what does he do? Bathsheba's husband is a general or some kind of military guy. So David's trying to convince this military guy that he's got to go home to his wife, because he wants to make sure he has sex with her, so that he thinks that this is his kid.
Interesting.
So that David doesn't get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Or that the woman doesn't get in trouble. And the guy says, no, I can't do this. I can't. You're right. Woman too. So he says, I can't do this. If I'm in battle, if I'm doing battle, I cannot go to my wife and see her in the middle of this fighting. I have to devote myself to the battle. So David's like, what the hell am I going to do now? He's been gone from her a long time, and she's obviously going to be having this kid, and he's going to figure it out. So he sends him to the front lines.
Oh, thinking he'll get killed.
And he did.
He did.
And so, I mean, this is what these guys did. I mean, he wanted Bathsheba for himself because she was beautiful and she fit into his idea of ideal beauty.
Yeah.
He wasn't satisfied with the hundreds of women that he had already in his harem, as Brian calls it. And he wanted to have her, and then he doesn't even feel guilty about it. It's like, yeah, that's what I did. It's what I did. That's what I had to do to get what I wanted. Of course, God's pissed now, so I got to find out what's going to happen. But God's mad at him for doing this thing, and it was a little fable. It was something like, there was the fable that the prophet uses to explain to David what he did wrong. Was okay. So there's this guy, and he's a rich guy, and he's got all these sheep, and he's got all these animals, goats, and whatever else that they had back then, and somebody, a sojourner, comes to his door, but there's another guy that lives next door, and this guy's got one sheep, and he treats this sheep like it's his daughter. The sheep sleeps in the house. He raised it from being a lamb. It is his part of the family. It's his only sheep.
Yeah.
So the rich guy, when the sojourner comes, he doesn't want to slaughter one of his animals. He's greedy, and he doesn't want to get rid of any of his animals. He goes and he takes the guy's daughter sheep.
He just takes it?
Yeah, and he slaughters it for the sojourner. And so that's the parable that that's the parable that he uses with David. You did the same thing. He said, what would you do to that rich man? How would you treat him? He said, I'd put him to death. And he said, well, that's what you did. You took the poor man's sheep, and you defiled his sheep. But anyway, so it's very interesting. I'm still enjoying all the stories. I don't enjoy the, when they go begot. That stuff is very boring. But that's where I am in the Bible right now.
What's the purpose of all that begot stuff?
Because they're showing the lineage. They want to show. Okay, so there's the 12 tribes of Israel, right?
Yeah.
So by showing who's the son of who and who's the daughter of who, you can trace it all back to the tribes. And this is where they're running into this author is running into trouble. The author of Creating the Jews is running into problems with the Jewish community, because what he's saying is that these Kazans, these Russian Kazans.
What are those?
This is a race of people. They were a warrior people in Russia in the beginning of the AD, and they are not begat of anyone. They were just Jews by choice. But somebody met somebody else, and they were ready to have one God instead of being pagan.
I see.
So they don't. I guess especially the Zionists don't like this idea that they weren't attached in any way to the lineage of the. So it's all lineage, It's all like everybody, and that's why they connected. But you know what? The crazy thing is, they connect Jesus to the house of David, but it's through his father, and that's not Joseph is not his father. So why do they do that?
Is that a mistake?
It's. I think it's an oversight. Yes. I know they don't. They only read the parts that they agree with. You could make any argument by stuff that's written in the Old Testament. Any argument at all. There's this. It's mayhem. It's mayhem, Brian. It's really interesting though. But if you got to get through the boring begots parts. Otherwise that's that part stuff. That's really sucky.
It's very appropriate that you bring this up, because I had a meal yesterday with Joel Lessies.
Oh.
And he was telling me one Jewish proverb after another.
They're fascinating. Were they the biblical proverbs, or were they
from
just
the Torah and stuff like that?
Wow. Did you find any of them interesting?
I looked at it as all ideology.
Yeah, of course.
Like I'd be listening to it and I'm thinking, how would I translate that into my language?
Yeah.
But he is so much into this thing about the wisdom of Judaism. He has a podcast of his published in Israel, in which he interviews rabbis,
Oh,
and they post it in Israel.
wow. You know, I have a fascination with Judaism. I always have.
Yeah.
You know, ever since I found out, I remember as a child going to church, Catholic church, as you did, and hearing the old Bible stories, and finding that I thought that Jews all converted. They, you know, Jesus was the Savior, and all the Jews converted to Christianity. That was my thought. I thought this is a book about people who don't exist anymore. And when I met my first Jewish girl, my sister lived in North Buffalo, and I had a friend who lived next door,
Yeah.
and she was Jewish. I was like, "You're Jewish?" Because I thought they were all gone.
Uh-huh.
And so I figured out, okay, if she's Jewish, that must mean she's got a Jewish mother and father, and then they must have Jewish parents. There must be a whole shitload of Jewish people. And I didn't understand because I thought they were all now became Christians.
Wow.
The way the story sounded to me as a child, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then of course I married Kenny, and he introduced me to Zionism, and he told me a lot of things that we weren't taught. We never were taught about the pogroms in Russia,
Yeah.
and the Inquisition. I mean, maybe they touched on it, but they didn't really make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
And how how the Jewish people suffered at the hands of this guy that's writing this book is making he's explaining why all these things happened, and how the Jews became the person to take, like Trump is doing with bombing. It's to take people's minds off the Epstein files.
The diversion.
Yeah. So it was diversion against what they were doing, so nobody paid attention, so they would pick on the Jews. But I have a fascination with Jewish philosophy. I find it fascinating. I tried to convert once, and I because I was so naive. I was in my 20s, and I called a rabbi, and I said, "Look, I'm a follower of Jesus, and I just realized Jesus was Jewish, and so that means I must be Jewish." And I heard this dead air on the phone. "I don't think I can help you." And he said, there is a branch of Jews for Jesus, but they're not really part of the Jewish faith, And so he explained some things to me, but he was really nice. And it turned out he was a conservative. So, of course, if I would have called a Reformed rabbi, I may have gotten a different answer.
Yeah.
But it was one of these moments, you get this, aha, if I'm a follower of Jesus, I must be a Jew. That whole, I'm very, I guess I like to say spontaneous because it sounds better, but I'm impulsive. That's really what I am. But so we have Brian here with us. Brian, thank you for contributing. I have a hard time concentrating on two things at once. I get distracted, and I want to. Brian, you should come down to the house, to the studio, one of these days and be on the show. I'd like that. You were only here once, and I'd like you to come back. So, Richard, what's on your list? You didn't send me a list, did you?
No, I didn't. Quotes.
Okay. Oh, are these some of the Joe Alessi quotes?
Nope.
Okay.
These are quotes that from my reading that just inspire me.
Okay.
Part of what keeps us sane is other people's perspectives, which are often in tension with ours.
Oh.
I love that.
I think it's important. That is something that we should do more of, because we can be in a bubble, and I think a lot of Americans are in bubbles right now, and they're only talking to people who think like them. It's important to have people in your life who don't think like you. And, you know, I know that other people don't agree with that idea, but it doesn't mean you have to be swayed by them. It just means that you need to listen to why they feel like that.
Yeah, you have to be aware that there's other ways of thinking other than yours.
Yeah, sometimes Greg would listen to talk radio on AM radio, and it would annoy me. It's like, why are you listening to that? And he'd say, I want to know what's going on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, I do understand that more now than ever. But it makes me angry to hear blatant untruths, you know. So I guess I have a hard time.
Yeah, which actually is so much like fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you believe, if you're not a critical thinker, which is getting rarer and rarer these days,
Mm-hmm.
you believe what you're told. And I mean, I realized at some point that if I didn't trust the people talking, I probably shouldn't listen to what they're saying as gospel truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to try to figure it out for yourself.
I've been listening to a lecture on King Henry VIII and the monasteries.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
Okay, so the monasteries were firmly entrenched in England,
Mm-hmm.
and each monastery was like a what would you call it? Like, if you were sick, you went to the monastery. They had a clinic.
Oh, okay.
If you were so poor you didn't have a place to stay, you went to the monastery. They had a
Social services.
That's what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were social
Wow.
services. And as a result of that, often when people would die, they would give their land to the monastery. So the monastery started getting bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
land holdings. Now, Henry VIII wanted that land.
Asshole.
And he had an advisor. This is so much like Trump. It's unbelievable. He had an advisor named Thomas Cromwell, different from Oliver Cromwell, who was years
Okay,
later.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. But Thomas Cromwell was like an evil manipulator.
Steve Miller, maybe?
That's what I was thinking. And he said to Henry, well, what you have to do is you have to find out what the monasteries are doing wrong that will irritate people. And he said, well, how am I going to find that out? He said, well, send me and I'll go on a tour of the monasteries. And I will find evidence
As the king, he was going to go to the monastery?
as the king's emissary.
Oh, so it wasn't Henry VIII who was going to go.
No,
Okay.
because Henry wanted to keep his distance.
Mhm.
All right. So Thomas Cromwell would go as the king's emissary, and he would discover little tiny things that indicated that there was satanic worship going on in these monasteries.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right, Robbie. Oh, yeah, the monastery. I don't know about the monasteries getting too powerful, but go ahead, Richard.
That's exactly what Thomas Cromwell was putting out in his dispatches to the people.
Okay.
That the monasteries have gotten so powerful, one, they're stealing money, living extravagant lives,
Oh,
worshiping Satan, and having bizarre sexual practices.
So they actually were doing these things.
No, he
Oh,
just made all
okay.
that up.
All right.
Yeah, he made all that up and he put it out. And then Thomas Cromwell was saying, that is why the king must intervene.
And take their land that he wanted in the first place.
Isn't that something?
Do you know, when you talk about monasteries, it reminds me of what I read about, you know, a lot of these miracles, these like things that, like bleeding statues and things like that. Those were fabricated by the monasteries in order to bring in money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people would come on pilgrimages to see the bleeding statue of Jesus, and they were really creative in their manipulation of reality. So, you know, they're not totally blameless in many cases,
So in a lot of these smaller towns where the monastery did social services,
Uh-huh.
the towns were in an uproar. You can't close our monastery.
Yeah.
It's just too valuable.
Yeah.
And so they said, we're not going to let you take it. We're going to form a resistance. And then Cromwell told that to Henry. And you know what Henry said? Send in the army and kill them all.
Oh,
Isn't that something?
it doesn't surprise me. You know, he was really a piece of work. I don't know anything about this monastery stuff, but I do know the way he treated his wives. You know, and he was a gluttonous, womanizing putz. You know,
Right.
of course that wasn't unusual. So it's like. I'm still got the creeping crud, although it's not catchy anymore. So, what other quotes do you have there?
Religion is the sigh of a miserable person living in a heartless world.
I don't know if I. Well, it is a heartless world, and I find that religion for people is like a last hope. You know, they want something to be in charge. They don't want the chaos that's existent in nature to fall upon them. They want to be able to appeal to something outside of themselves to save them. And that's sad because, of course, it doesn't work. I mean, sometimes it happens just by accident and they think their prayer was answered. But what about all those other people who were desperate, whose prayers weren't answered?
Yeah.
You know, being a sigh, it's more like a scream than a sigh.
Mm.
You know, because I think it's a force of desperation.
Mm.
You know, I mean, I was raised Catholic. I do a lot of backsliding sometimes, you know. I find myself in a situation and I'm looking up on my phone, who is the patron saint of kidney disease? You know? I'll go through the whole process. I'll say, look, I don't really believe in this, but if there's any truth to this, if you could help me, I'd really like that.
Yeah.
But I always make sure they know I don't really believe like there's actually something there. But
There's a famous Einstein quote about that, by the way.
is there?
Yeah. He and Niels Bohr had different views on how the universe is constructed on a molecular level.
Mm-hmm.
They would always get together and hash out their different ways of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
And as he was walking, Niels Bohr met him at the front gate, and then they walked down to the house.
Okay.
And as they were walking down to the house, he looked over at the stables, and he saw on one of the door to the stables, there was a shoehorn nailed above the door. And he goes, well, what does that symbolize? And he said, it's supposed to bring you good luck. And Einstein said, you believe in superstition? He said, no, I don't believe in it. But they say, even if you don't believe in it, it'll bring you good luck. Now, was he just messing with his mind that he said that to
No,
him?
I think people. It's like the guy who there was a philosopher who said there's either no God or there's a God. It was a Pascal,
Yeah.
and he said so you hedge your bet. You believe in God, and if it does exist, then you're there.
Yeah.
If it doesn't exist, then you haven't lost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that it's the same thing. It's the same reasoning. It's reasoning based on no reasoning. You know, it's not logical.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to put the horseshoe with the U. It's got to be a U. It can't be the other way around because then the luck falls out. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know all these things, and I'll still knock on wood occasionally.
Oh, have you been reading about Punch the Monkey?
Oh, it's sad and funny, and Yeah, I read a little bit, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, his mother rejected him at
Yeah.
birth, as sometimes happens in the animal world.
Yes.
And luckily, one of the zookeepers felt a compassion for this little creature and gave it a stuffed animal, and it just embraced it and wouldn't let it go. For many, many weeks. It would carry it with them everywhere they went. And the people at the patrons who come in, they were just enchanted by this. He has a surrogate mother. Like the little monkey insisted, I've got to have something, even if it's not alive. I have to have something that symbolizes my mother. And so,
That monkey's going to need a lot of therapy when it grows up.
well, they're happy to report that as he's now entering into his childhood of monkeyness, he is participating more and more with other fellow child monkeys.
Yep. But hasn't he been rejected by other monkeys as well, besides his mother?
Well, is that what you've heard?
I've heard. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we get all of our information off of late night talk shows.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how true it is.
Well, I got mine off of Global News out of Toronto.
Okay.
So they showed that,
Yeah.
and they didn't mention anything about other monkeys rejecting him.
Yeah. I mean, in the wild, if you're born lame, you're gonna be left.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like with humans
Yeah.
where we figure out a way. So I don't know what's wrong with this monkey. I mean, somebody was making a joke about that. Who was like, "What is wrong with this monkey that the mother rejected it? There must be something terribly wrong with this monkey."
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they figured out a way to get him, through this tragic infantile moment.
And I heard from our friend, Mr. James Walker.
Oh, how's he doing?
I have a strategy with him now.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what video he sends me, I research it to see how factual it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how many of these things have no basis in fact.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I see people posting things all the time, even things that are left leaning, that are bullshit. And I mean, it's got the smear of bullshit all over it, and I can see it, and I won't even respond because I don't think it. I mean, it's almost like wishful thinking, Gloria sent me something that said that Republicans were going to impeach Trump. And I knew that was not right. And I mentioned that to her. And she said, "Oh my God, I posted this at 2 a.m. I was having a hard time sleeping." And she says, "You're right. It sounds ridiculous. I don't know why I bought into it." But
Probably news from her social media feed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which has no obligation to be true.
Exactly. I know. But I mean, every once in a while, I just see one of these posts and I know I'm like, it makes me cringe because I know it's not true, whether it's left or right.
So the social media feed has distorted a lot of people's views of the world.
And you know what? That's during the first Trump campaign, Russia perpetrated those views on social media, and it got into the algorithm.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there that we don't know about. We can guess.
Yeah. Like the manipulation of the American mind through the social media platforms.
And the fact that people are getting their news that way now, and people aren't reading anything, not just novels and books, but newspapers, real papers that are required to tell the truth,
Right.
and then retract if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. Once again, I bring up the movie that Tom had me watch, which is Idiocracy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems so far fetched, but man, we're getting there closer and closer.
It's now a documentary.
That's true. It's very close to a documentary. But I I don't know. I don't know how, except to engage people in conversation, and ask them questions about what they're saying. Like I noticed on the No Exit show that one guy that was on the last couple weeks. I don't remember.
Rob. That's Rob who just made a comment.
Oh.
So he's watching.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
So he said, I saw a picture of Hillary Clinton and Epstein together.
Yeah.
So I looked it up in the research, and it says it was probably a social media picture that somebody put together.
Yeah, and I know, and I think his intentions are really honorable. He's an honorable guy. I can tell just by listening to him. But these things, they get into people's feeds and they confuse people.
Yeah.
And it's a scary place. But we still have hope. Hope is not gone. How do you feel about? I mean, you didn't really talk much about the.
There he is.
Oh. Yeah, you know what, Robbie? This is something I have to say. When I was a kid, and you're way younger than me, but when I was a kid, there used to be Walter Cronkite,
Yeah.
and we trusted him. We watched the news with our parents. Everybody watched the news, and if there was a story on that was too harsh for children, they would warn you. They would say, if you have young children watching, and they assumed that everybody in the family was watching, you might want them to leave the room right now. And so my father would send me out of the room or whatever.
Yeah.
And but they were not giving their opinions. Like CNN, MSNBC, which is now something else, and those groups of people are giving their opinions about news stories. That's not the news story. The news story is cut and dry.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I don't have an opinion on that. And we don't get that anymore on the news. Rob is right. We don't get that on the news anymore. There's one side is all left wing, one side is all right wing. And the sensationalism is what brings in the advertisers. If the news was about advertisers in the 60s and 70s, nobody would have known about that.
Right. Ronald Reagan signed that law into.
That was Ronald Reagan?
Yeah.
Well,
Or you can separate the.
I remember seeing something about that now that you mention it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But so we got through two of your quotes. What else you got?
Let me think here. Oh, yeah. So what's funny is the thing about the Penn State study, the person comes on and says 97% that there was a study at Penn State, 1,000 men and 1,000 women. 97% of the women said, I would rather be incarcerated than admit I was wrong.
That's something that James sent you?
Yeah, like to persuade me of his viewpoint, how women have been corrupted.
Is that true?
Well, I looked it up, and I finally found one source that said, to put it another way, in the world of surveys, it is extremely rare, like 1 out of 1 million cases, where you'd have a 97% agreement rate on something.
Yeah.
He said, that's your first red flag. And he said, in the second red flag, it's easy to tell the Penn State surveys. You just go to the Penn State website, and they show you all their surveys. There's never been a survey like that. It was totally fabricated. But because James gets his news on social media, he doesn't know.
Right. So, and it matches what he wants to believe. So that's why he will bring those things to your attention. And I think just as many men as women, though they're not my favorite people. I like people who can say, well, darn it, you're right. I was wrong about that.
Yeah.
You know, I like that is a something in a person's personality that I'm attracted to.
Mm.
You know, people who are not afraid to say they're wrong. People that will argue the same point over and over again, no matter how ridiculous it is. I don't want to be, those people don't appeal to me because they're very insecure.
Mm.
They feel diminished by being wrong when we're all getting fed all kinds of information, and I'm going to be wrong sometimes. If I'm wrong, I want to know.
Mhm.
I don't want to be telling the next person the same thing I just told them that was wrong. I want to know. Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just no, but not. I'm going to say I know just as many men as women who are adverse to admitting that they're wrong.
Hmm.
It's just a segment of the population. You're not going to get away from that. But,
I mean, it is a strange question to ask people. Would you rather go to jail than admit you were wrong? Like,
that's
are
a
you kidding me?
that's kind of a strong statement. I could see saying, you know, how far would you go to prove you were right about something? I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I mean, he sends me stuff like that once in a while too.
Yeah.
I just don't pay attention to it. I don't have time anymore. I'm emotionally full.
Mm.
I am full to the brim. I'm right now. Oh, I found a place that does DNA testing. Did I tell you about that already?
Yeah.
For Greg.
Oh.
So they're going to test him for the gene sequencing for Parkinson's because his
Now, is that part one, and part two is actually forming a molecule that you can inject in his body?
well, I don't know about the study yet. All I want to do is find out if that's the kind of Parkinson's he has.
I see.
Because if he does have that Parkinson's, then I can find a study.
I see.
But it's they're doing gene sequencing. It's only 3% of the population with Parkinson's who have a genetic component. His paternal grandmother and his father had it, so it seems likely that there might be a genetic component. And once we find that out, we can move forward.
Did they take some of his blood or something?
We're going at the end of the month.
Ah.
We're going to go to Rochester. That's the only, but it's free. It's through the Parkinson's Association.
Oh, that's so good. Maybe you'll make other contacts there.
Yeah, and it's free. So we're going to drive there, and they give you genetic counseling for about an hour, and they tell you what you might find, and they prepare you, and then they use like the box for diabetes.
Oh, the thing you tape on your arm?
Yeah, but
Okay.
this is a box they attached, and it takes blood out over a period of time, like maybe an hour or so,
I see.
and then they use that blood. It's only like a teaspoon of blood, but why they do it that way, I don't know.
I see.
But anyway, so that's kind of exciting. That's a new twist.
Hmm.
So
Wow, that sounds very promising.
well, I asked AI. His doctor never mentioned anything about genetic testing. I didn't, all I knew is that there was a genetic component that could possibly be. I knew it was only a low proportion because my sister checked into it because my mother had Parkinson's.
Mm.
So she checked into it. She said only 3%. But his paternal grandmother and his father,
Mm-hmm.
it's a line, you know.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that tested.
That's sort of like the new frontier in medicine is checking your genes.
Gene editing. They do gene editing. They can cure with CRISPR. They can cure
Sickle cell?
sickle cell. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before. They can cure it. They can cure it by gene editing.
Uh-huh.
But AI also says that the cure for Parkinson's is very, very close. It might be this year. So we'll see. Oops. Well, looks like we're out of time. Okay, Richard, this was really nice. Just you and I. Not that I like having a guest, but It was nice because I missed you last week. It was good to be here.
And it's nice to have you back.
Yeah, and thank you, Tom, for being a great guy, and my son, and the engineer. Okay.